everybody. Welcome in. We got everybody up on the screen, and everyone's doing their due diligence, getting all our shares, likes, getting everybody out there and engaged. Appreciate everyone joining us. We are the Denver Bronco Roundup. A little different look. We got everyone up on the screen to start. I just wanted to thank everybody for joining us. Of course, we are try to be your Denver Broncos headquarters as far as all your news, rumors, notes. Brought to you by the Rocky Mountain Sports Network and Willow Seasonings and Blends. But we're going to jump right into it. We got Jody up in the top left-hand corner of my screen, probably yours as well. Welcome
everyone.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
How you doing, buddy?
Good.
Hanging in there?
Just sitting here watching it rain. Just watching it rain outside.
Watching it rain. Well, I guess the snowblower's put away then, for sure.
For now, we're supposed to get dumped on later tonight and tomorrow. So
there you go. Rain turning to snow. Beautiful mix. Have a nice drive tomorrow. Be careful, okay?
Yeah, make a mess. Yep.
It's gonna make a big mess. I can only imagine, man. We have hit our cold spell as the Arctic front has started to drop in. So a little bit of snow, but it's all about the temperatures here. Welcome back, Mr. Albert. Good to see you, man. We missed you a ton. Everybody out there in Denver Broncos land and Denver Bronco Roundup land has missed you as well, man. So welcome back to the show, buddy. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to be back. We were in Florida for about 8 days, and coming back from 80 plus degrees into 23, 24 degrees at night. Yeah, quite a change.
Yeah, that'll make you pucker just a little bit, buddy. You're all loosey goosey, probably even in your shorts one day, whole 9 yards. Yeah, come back, you're a whole different scenario now. Different scenario. So, guys, well, we picked a good week for me, maybe not being as prepared for a show because, well, the Denver Broncos don't seem to be prepared as well, at least to name some coordinators, offensive or defensive. We have got a few coaches out of the way, but it certainly has been a very, very, very long process. Jody, I know that you spoke to a Sean Payton quote a while back. I wonder if you could quote it right now. I don't know if we didn't talk about this before. You know which one I'm talking about?
Quick to fire, slow to hire.
Yeah, slow to hire, quick to fire. Yep, you got it, buddy. Well, we're seeing that play out for sure, man. What's taking so long, Jody? Why don't we start with you? What is taking so long to get some of these offensive and defensive coordinators named? We have got a few other coaches we'll go over in a minute, but man, the main positions we're still kind of hanging out there just a little bit, right?
I think he's just being thorough. He said it in the beginning that he made some mistakes in his first go around with the Saints of some hires that he regrets. And I think he's just doing his due diligence. You can tell he wants experienced guys in here, not unlike what we had last year. And guys he trusts. I think he really wants some, especially on the defensive side, he wants somebody that he can trust almost so he can focus a little more on the offensive side that he doesn't have to worry about. And I think that's two reasons why, or one reason why Rex and Vance are top candidates because they've been head coaches and they've been there, done that.
Yeah, they can. Not only can they handle it at the highest level, right? A place where our last head coach certainly had his own issues, and Nathaniel Hackett and handling that head coaching position. Well, we got the head coach, we got Sean Payton. Now it's all about getting those coordinators, and if you can get somebody who's been there, as you said, been there, done that, as far as the head coaching position, following back into that coordinator role can certainly be a very easy transition. Albert, last week while you were gone, we had the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue crew on our show, kind of filling in for you. Impossible to do. No one fills your shoes. In fact, literally on the show, we had Johnny, we had Jay, we had Isaiah. Johnny speaks up, and he said, just to let you know, Albert is like lore among like Denver Broncos podcasts and fanatics out there. He is like he is on a different level. and certainly respected. So we're going to get your highly respected opinion right here, buddy. What is your thoughts around this offensive defensive coordinator position? What we got going on, and is Vance Joseph welcome back in? Is that something that the team would be welcome to? And how about you, Albert?
No, I do not want Vance Joseph, but yeah, it's not my choice. If they hire him, then we have to deal with him for another year, and then they can fire him again.
Quick to fire. All right.
So yeah, I I truly believe that Sean is going to do a thorough job in interviewing and getting the right people here. We have had too many problems in the past, at least the last 5 6 years, with that, and that needs to stop. And I think that Sean Payton is putting a stop to that. He will get a team together that will make us compatible and fighting again for the AFC West title.
Man, it looks like it. First, the ownership team did a great job in kind of helping correct that problem. We went to a lot of different routes in order to try to get this head coaching position right. It seems like we got 1A, 1B of what we really wanted, and the right guy to fix this. And now it's all about the head coach or the coordinators. And I do have faith in Sean Payton and that he's going to make the right decision. I do like his slow to hire. Why be in a rush to jump out there and make a brass decision because you're blown away out in an interview by some young kid that you're quick to fire shortly thereafter. I know it's difficult, Broncos fans. I know we want all our pieces in place. We want all our boxes checked. We want to be heading into off season, all raring to go, and just have to figure out who's on this team. But we're still, as far as the players are concerned, we're still trying to get that kind of sorted as far as our coordinators. But it will come. I got a few shout outs just really quick. First, Kenny jumping in and saying, "Good evening, fellows. Hope all is well your way. I'm enjoying a Tuesday night off with the best Broncos talk on earth." Well, Kenny, thank you. And I just got to give a big shout out. Kenny's a huge supporter of our show in here, whether he's enjoying his day off like he is right now or whether he's maybe sneakily doing it while he's at work. Kenny is always finding a way to get us in here. So, or get in here and be part of the conversation. We really appreciate you, Kenny. Great supporter. And hey, along those lines, K&K is another podcast out there if you're looking for not only Broncos but whole NFL, whole baseball, whole NBA. Go ahead and jump over on, look up K&K podcast, the K&K Sports Show, and you'll be loving life as they fill it in all the way across the board. Great guys over there. Kenny, thanks so much. Loving watching you when you guys are up and going. So, and of course, I got to give a shout out to David Slade. David Slade is actually our Willow Seasonings and Blends, our sponsor for the show. Willow Seasonings, fantastic seasonings and sauces. We'll be talking a little bit later. But David Slade's coming in here also as a commenter because he's also a huge Broncos fan and said, did he not have a plan? Did he not expect to get this job? A little bit of frustration maybe with Sean Payton not quite getting on the ball. We heard he was supposed to have a coaching staff together. At one point, it was supposed to be Vic Fangio that was possibly coming into our building, another former coach, rather than VJ. But it is a little bit odd that we didn't have all of our ducks in a row. But I think, quite honestly, Sean Payton maybe took his own advice and he was slow to be hired, and didn't have all his places. There was a lot of speculation on whether he was going to come back or whether he's going to come back to coaching or go to Fox. He did end up choosing the Broncos. Makes me wonder how much planning he had for his coaching staff. Jody, do you think he was caught off guard maybe or did not have his ducks in a row like he should have?
No, I just think he's doing a thorough due diligent process. Who has he missed out on that you can say if he'd just been quicker to hire or offer the job to? Who has he missed out on that was this great OC or great DC that was out there? I mean, we decided to let Evero go. Vance decided to take the job in Miami. Don't blame him. It was probably too quick to come back here. Plus, he got top of the line money for a DC. So there's
Fangio.
no rush, or Vangio, correct. There's no rush to, I mean, if you announce Rex last week or tomorrow or whenever, there's nothing really to gain by it. I expect something by the end of the week so that these guys can be ready for the combine next week.
Yeah, and Dave does bring up a good point. Evero left. Denver did not let him go. I guess they allowed him to be. Well, I guess no, they allowed him to go and look, but eventually they just.
I mean, Denver did let him out of his contract.
He had to let him out of his contract because it was a lateral move, right? Yep.
Right.
So I guess from that way, but yeah, Evero wanted to leave. Evero had no. It seemed like from the very beginning he had no desire to stick around. I mean, when stemmed a lot.
When his boy got fired, when Hackett got fired, who brought him here, he wanted no part of the job. I think had he maybe got the head coaching job, maybe he stays. But
yep.
Other than that, there was really nothing keeping him here. He was sour on, I think, the way it turned, and I can't blame him. I mean, I'd have liked to see him at least stay one more year so we could have got the draft picks at least from him, but.
I was really hoping for that. We could have really joined up on or really teamed up some draft picks in the coming drafts, to make it, it's such a big value if you would 2 round picks added to your stable. That would have been huge. Just really quick before I jump over to Albert, big supporter, big friend of the show, and Sis, I always appreciate you. He keeps us on track. Sometimes he makes sure that we're not up there dreaming and talking about too many what ifs and possibilities. Good down to earth guy, Sis, and part of that K&K group. So, Sis, appreciate you so much jumping in here. I know it's always tough to try to get us, so I appreciate when you're in here and always appreciate your comments. So, yeah, a little clap up for Sis and Kenny because I appreciate guys like that, right? And speaking of which, I got to get to this a little bit older comment. It says, "This is Kenny. No one fills Albert's shoes. No one, nobody." No, it was a great show. Really loved having the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Brew. Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast team over there. If you get another shout out, if you get a chance to check those guys out as well, they're a riot, man. They'll take you for a ride. And Kenny's really liking your new look there, Jody. I'll throw you up on the screen. Looks like it's time for movie night. Time to dim the lights.
Maybe.
Fire out the big screen. Waiting for that THX logo to come across. We'll be all set to go.
Study some game film.
Study some. I like that, man. Man, that's like Broncos headquarters, man. It's a Broncos. We're gonna break down everything down in what is this? Is this the man cave? Is this the? Got a name for it? Yeah.
The man cave, I guess.
You got the man cave. It's very good, man. Very good. He says he likes that better too. So, Albert, there's been some offensive coordinators, some defensive coordinators, not named, but we have had some coaches that have come on board as of lately. I'll ask you off the top. Anybody that you like to talk about, or should I throw any names out there?
So one thing that I want to talk about is a comment that I saw from Bill Belichick.
Okay,
and that was. Bill Belichick, or
Bill Belichick.
You stumble over that one.
No
I
worries.
do. He had lots of praise for Sean Payton. He says, "I've played him so many years, and you never know what you're getting from Sean Payton, and he's always up for a surprise for an opposing team, and in a good way for the team that he is working with." So I think that from one huge coach to another coach, I think that is something that we Broncos fans should really respect and know that we have a good coach in Sean Payton. I think that's a big plus.
Huge plus, right? Huge plus because honestly, let's face it, Bill Belichick is a man of a few words. Usually doesn't dole out a whole lot of praise for anybody, including his own teammates and his own coaches. So to get that asked of him and for him to respond that way, just better testament to that decision that this ownership group has made. And I think honestly, and tell me if I'm wrong out there, Broncos country, but I think it set our nerves at ease, right? I think all of a sudden there has been a sigh of relief. I know there was a lot of questions whether it should be Harbaugh, whether it should be Peyton. Maybe there was a couple other names that kind of came into the mix from time to time, but when Sean Payton was announced, and you look back 2 or 3 days later, I guarantee you just went, okay, I think we're good. I think we're going to be just fine. So, one name that I just wanted to bring up, I thought Albert was going to jump all over this. Make sure I say this name right. Dan Dalrymple. If you don't know what that name is, or if it doesn't ring a bell to you, that's our new strength and conditioning coach. This should be. Well, I just thought it would be huge because I knew how much you were a fan of the last strength and conditioning group that we had in here. So I thought it wouldn't have mattered if this was my wife's name on this page right now. I thought you would be excited. Just the fact that we no longer are talking about Lauren Landau. We will have to have to get used to Dan Dalrymple. Dalrymple.
We almost bought a celebration cake just to celebrate Landau being gone.
There you go. You're sounding like the offensive lineman as their coach left the door now. So
How about that one too?
I think there might have been a cake. Might not have seen it, but it might not have been reported. But certainly there was applause when he left. And I was listening to Locked On Broncos. Cody Rourke is on there, and Sid Behringer, and they were talking. A lot can be said about listening to other people's fan bases. When you listen, for instance, to the New Orleans fans base, they're not saying, "Oh man, you got suckered into Sean Payton. Oh boy, look out!" No, they're fully on board. If you went and asked a Saints fan, what did we get in Sean Payton? What would they say? They're going to say, "You got a great head coach. He's got a lot of passion. He's got a lot of ingenuity. He's a winner." These are the type of things you're going to expect to hear. We're trying to tell the Miami Dolphins that you don't want, and I forget, offensive line coach that got left, that left the Broncos. Jody, what was his name? Do you know?
Joe Barry.
Joe Barry. Thank you. I was trying to, was not clicking. Joe Barry. We're trying to tell Dolphins fans, hey, we're serious, man. This is not a good idea. They're not listening. But I can tell you there was plenty of celebration when Joe Barry left. But Dan Dalrymple. I got it. Dan Dalrymple. Have it up in front of me because if not, I'm going to mess this up. Comes from the Saints as well. It's starting to become a little bit of a Saints staff. It possibly could be, as we're starting to put some of these pieces together. But I do got to say that here's a gentleman that I don't care what you look at. It always looked like their team was prepared to be on the field. It would always seem like that his team was a team that was healthy and playing into the playoffs. That's how you get into the playoffs. It's not very often that you can overcome injury, and still make the playoffs, especially at prime position. So I'm very excited about having Dan Dalrymple. Jody, you have any other comments on that as well?
No, I think it's just a breath of fresh air. We had loads of injuries last year, and someone needed to be held accountable for that. And hopefully this guy, along with Peyton, coming out and saying we're going to play in starters will play in preseason. Probably be a good sign. I mean, these guys were not ready when week 1 came.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not ready. And not only were they not ready because of our strength and conditioning, obviously our off-season programming, which will be changing under Sean Payton, it will be. It also led to all those injuries, in my opinion. Being down there at training camp, like I said, I really hope I get the opportunity to get back there again this year, get some reporting to everyone live from training camp as much as I can. That's my hope. But I can say, being down there the first year, I wasn't overwhelmed by the amount of rigorous training they had to go through. Albert, we'll head over to you as Kenny brings up second person on my list. In a move that was, he says, I'll read Kenny's comment first, I guess. Thought on Mike Westhoff coming out of retirement to become an assistant head coach. Mike Westhoff, sticking in that tree, as we were just speaking, former special teams coordinator for the New Orleans Saints.
Jets.
The Saints and the Jets. Well respected gentleman. Albert, I don't. Have you been tuned into this? I've been out of it, and we didn't get to do a whole lot of pre-game plan. Can you speak a little bit to Mike Westhoff to start us off?
Yeah, so I definitely saw that comment too. And Mike Westhoff, he used to be a really good special teams coordinator of coach. So, and I talked about it about 2 weeks ago in the last show that I was on. This shows how much loyalty Sean Payton creates. And that is when we were in Florida, I spoke to some New Orleans Saints guys, and they miss him because Sean Payton does not take crap from anybody. And Jody already said it, quick to fire and slow to hire. That was definitely a statement with Sean Payton. And with the new strength and conditioning coach, it only can get better. We were number one in with people on IR when the season ended. 21, 22. So
yeah, it was a bad year top to bottom, buddy.
I don't think it can get any worse. So it's only going to get up. And I still would like to have seen Jerry coming back as a special teams coordinator, because what he did in 2 games with an entire team, not let him just focus on just the special teams, I think that would have been wonderful.
Yeah, and that was going to lead me to kind of my point on it, and leads in beautifully. I think that was exactly kind of what we're getting out of a Westhoff, is kind of that Rosberg type of mentality. Here's a guy that is kind of that older gentleman, as stated. He came out of retirement. He's, much like we saw from Rosberg. He comes in. He's a stable mind. He knows how to coach. Maybe hasn't been a head coach before, but ran special teams at an all-time high in just about every stop he ever had. So for me, Mike Westhoff was very much like a Rosberg hire, and now he's assistant to Sean Payton. It really seems to just solidify that very top end of the coaching pillar, I guess you could say, as we start to go down from here. A few more comments that we need to get to. Michelle is not only a fantastic spouse, as Albert has spoke to many a times, but a fantastic supporter of this show as well. So, Michelle, appreciate you coming in here, talking a little bit of Broncos with us as well. Saying, while in Florida, we did ask Saints fans about Sean Payton. That's exactly what they said, Keith. Speaking back to earlier about, again, all the great things that a Saints fan might have to say about Sean Payton and who he is and who we got. Can't leave out Victor. Victor's breaking in here and saying the Denver Saints Broncos. Yeah, kind of feeling that way, buddy. I kind of called it a little while ago as we kind of were lining up some of our interviews. Boy, I got things falling all over the place, guys. Sorry about that. And then he also jumps in here and says, breaking news, Denver trades Josie Jewell for a New Orleans Saints trash can. If anybody doesn't know, Victor is a huge supporter of Josie Jewell. I think he actually runs the Josie Jewell fan club. So check that out. I believe he's an admin on that page as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, Victor. I'm just joking. Victor, I'm surprised, man. I thought we had a pretty good year from Josie last year. Thought he played pretty darn well. I thought we would have got, I don't know, 25 cents in a trash can from you this year. But maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe the opinion has not changed. And Kenny just jumping in one more time saying, in my opinion, he's changed special teams. I would be excited about your special teams for sure. And kind of like in that in that voice for sure. But anyway, I'm excited about Westhoff, but I'm going to jump back up and I'm going to throw in something that I didn't even have on my list. We'll jump back to David Slade on here. Appreciate Dave coming in here with some more comments. He's saying, rumors are Denver's looking to move a wide receiver. If they do, who do you think it is? Sutton for Zach Wilson? See if his career can be resurrected here? We'll go up to Jody, jump down to Albert. Jody, first off, is it Sutton? And if it is Sutton, what are we getting? Do you think it is, as he said, Zach Wilson, or are we going a different direction?
I think it is Sutton, but that's not the direction I would go. I've never been a Zach Wilson fan. I mean, he put up one good year, one COVID year at BYU. Other than that, he's really done nothing. So that's not the route I would go. I've always been a fan of Sutton. Did he play bad last year? Yeah, but there were a lot of players that did.
Fair.
And if you can't just to get draft picks or a player just because, I don't really like that. I mean, Sutton can be a contributor, and I think a lot of these guys are going to be motivated now with this is the first bona fide head coach that's proven himself, who's won championships since Kubiak. A lot of these guys have never played for that. They've played for first-time head coaches. They don't know anything about winning. They've never been on a winning team. And I think a lot of them, are going to be really focused after the embarrassment of last year.
That's fair, man. That's fair. Albert, assuming that it is Courtland Sutton, what would the draft pick compensation need to be for you to trade Courtland Sutton? And, to answer Dave's question, would there be any interest in having Zach Wilson as part of the trade to bring him in here and be a backup? As we all know, Sean Payton wants to find a new backup. It's not going to be. It doesn't sound like it's going to be Rippon. We'll have to bring somebody else in here. Would that be a good investment in a young prodigy and Zach Wilson?
No, I would not. I would not trade Sutton for Zach Wilson. There are, from what I heard, there are plenty good quarterbacks available in the draft, and even as in the third round or fourth round, you can have a decent quarterback backup, and then let him sit behind Wilson and learn. And that's what my opinion is. So if you would get a second or a third round pick for Sutton, yeah, I'm okay with it. But the thing is, and just what Jody said, we had a coach that did not know how to play a decent offense, and Sutton was suffering from that. They all were suffering from it. And with a Sean Payton now, I think we will see a complete different offense, and Sutton and Hamler, if he is back up to speed, and Judy, the tight ends, both tight ends, I think will benefit greatly from the new offense. So maybe deal a little bit, but other than that, I wouldn't let Sutton go.
Very good. So 2 votes for keeping Sutton on board, and I think we have a third here. Kenny's coming in saying, I think you should keep Sutton. Tall wide receivers do well in Peyton's system. Mike Thomas and Marcus Colston, just to name 2. I would agree in most facets. I do want to get to to Dave. He's saying if you need a head coach to motivate you, you do not belong in the league. The one thing I would say to this is I think it's just motivating to have a head coach the quality of Sean Payton. When you look at some of these guys, honestly, I don't know how Justin Simmons keeps his motivation, stays at a Hall of Fame level, is at an All-Pro level. You know what I mean? Is considered one of the top of your game. It's tough to be a Justin Simmons who's never sniffed the playoffs and has played for the Broncos his entire life. You know, it's exciting when you get somebody like a Sean Payton in the door and you think, you know what? This could fix everything. We could be completely different. We could be on top of the heap. We feel like this is our opportunity. And that is motivating. And it's not necessarily that you need that motivation in order to play. It's the fact that, man, it sure feels different once you get all the pieces in place and you feel like you got a shot. You feel like you got a real shot. Sis coming in here and saying, any word on an O-line coach? Munchak is my pick, and man, I tell you what, Sis, I don't know how much you're tuned into Broncos land or Broncos country out here, but you are barking up the right tree. Everybody's hoping for Mike Munchak to come back. That would be the opportune situation. I think with everything that we have going on as far as the level of veteran coaches that we're bringing in, I think that's a name that certainly would fit in as well. Kenny's jumping in here. Maybe I'll have Jody jump on this one, and I'll jump off to the side for just a second. Kenny's wondering if Taylor Heineke would be a backup QB. Maybe we could talk about backup QBs for a second, and maybe who you would like. He's wondering if Taylor Heineke is a possibility or if he's just too expensive. But speak to it, Jody.
I would be okay with him. If it were me, I'd probably go later in the draft. I think you can get a quality guy there. Maybe a Hendon Hooker, somebody coming off that ACL injury, falls. And I'll circle back to Dave's comment a little bit. I don't think it's so much about getting motivated to play. I think it's more of you, besides Russell Wilson and Brandon McMahon on this team, have been a part of a winning team.
Yeah.
They've never won. And I think you need and I think you get to the point, like you said, a Justin Simmons or somebody that's been here, 6-7 years now that's never won, where I'm just going out to get a paycheck. And you've got to have somebody to get you motivated to win, to show that it's more than just collecting that paycheck. And I think that's what Sean Payton can do. I mean, he's over a 600 percentage win coach. He's won a Super Bowl. He's won everywhere he's been. So I think that's more really what it's about, is turning this from a losing culture to a winning culture.
100%. Yeah, kind of a little bit of what I was reiterating, but really well said. And I'm glad that you spoke to it since he was speaking to you mainly. Albert, any backup QBs or Taylor Heineke a possibility for you? Any other names come to mind?
Yeah, Tyler Heineke, I would be okay with.
Okay.
Maybe even a Jamie G as a backup.
That'd be an expensive one, buddy. I think that someone's going to pay top dollar out there for that one.
I don't think he would be too expensive because he hasn't done much last year and the year before, and he is a little bit injury and prone. I think it should, and I think that as a backup he would do really well, and especially behind Wilson. And I would like to go back to that motivation of a coach too. How many players are now willing to take less money to play for Sean Payton? Because they know what type of coach they have. So that might be a big motivation too. They might not be happy in the system where they are, and now they have an opportunity to come to play for Sean Payton. I think that will help tremendously as well.
I agree. Free agency is looking a little bit different. If we would have brought in, let's say, Brian Shaw, I don't know if you necessarily have players just flocking to try to play for Brian Shaw. It's usually the quarterback. Last time we talked about something like this, it was when we brought Peyton Manning into town, and everyone wanted to play for Peyton Manning. Unfortunately, because of Russell Wilson's year last year, it didn't help the situation coming into this offseason and trying to attract talent. But Sean Payton is definitely, I agree with you completely. 100%, Albert. That's definitely going to help. Jeremy, jumping in with the first comment, he says, hopefully we get the whole band to play under Payton. Kind of speaking again to all the coordinators and coaches and assistant coaches we're looking at that are former Saints. I agree with Dave Slade in this principle. He says Zach Wilson is a good fit in a Payton-style offense. And I agree. What I would ask Dave is this. What draft pick would you trade for Zach Wilson? Because quite honestly, the biggest thing I'm concerned about is our wide receiver depth. It's not like after you get past Judy, Sutton, and Tim Patrick, you have a bunch of studs that are just looking to break out and everyone's clamoring to get them off of your team and get them into their starting lineup.
You have Patrick and Hamler both coming off injuries. I mean,
correct.
I mean, it's definitely Patrick. I mean, he's coming off an ACL. You probably won't see him till probably week 1. He probably won't play all preseason.
Mm.
You don't know what you're going to get there. And Hamler, you don't know what you're going to get. So either, I mean, that's 2 wild card right there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I just don't think we have the depth. So if you wanted to trade for Zach Wilson, I can understand it. He is on a rookie contract, or he's going to be, second year on a rookie contract. It's fairly inexpensive. You know, maybe you can get it fairly cheap from the Jets because of that, because it's not like you're getting a big value. They're obviously not high on him. So, yeah, maybe if you get a late-round draft pick and you're using it on a Zach Wilson versus, trying it out on a wing and a prayer out there, because let's face it, there's not a whole lot of late-round quarterbacks that make it, not named Tom Brady, and make an impact on your team. So, maybe a Zach Wilson makes sense, man. I'm not going to rule it completely out. David Slade's also saying because Simmons has pride and goes all out no matter what. Hey, 100%, man. He's a Hall of Famer, all pro. There's not very many people that can do it, and it's not very often that you get the whole team aligned with that, especially with the coaching that we've had. There's been no reason to have this unity and this winning mindset. It's as a functioning whole. We need to change that, and that's what this is all about.
I have one thing on the Zach Wilson. I have kind of a different take. The reason I wouldn't make the trade is because I think Russell Wilson, a couple things. One, he was embarrassed by his play last year. He is over all of the bad press and media that he got, whether it was deserved or not. And I think he's going to come in phenomenal shape next year. He's going to ball out next year, and he's going to put a lot of this that he's washed to bed, and you don't need to give. I mean, I think Russ has 4 or 5 more great years in him. If you can fix this whole line, and with Sean Payton, I think you can get a lot out of Russ still. So that's one of the. I mean, sure, I would like to have. I mean, the prospects of having a Zach Wilson as a backup, the number 2 or 3 overall pick. Can he turn him around? Sure, but I just think Russ is going to be so motivated next year, and I expect huge things from Russ next year.
That's awesome, man. I can't disagree with you, man. Albert, I know you were looking to chime in as well right before we were hearing from Chody. Did you have something you want to mention as well?
Yeah, it's definitely. And Russell Wilson, I think Russell Wilson is going to compete for MVP next year for the season. I think he is motivated to do so. He was a little heavyweight when he started the season, and that bothered him as well. I think we have a really motivated Russell Wilson next year. Yeah, have you seen the new offensive line that Kenny suggested? And the new running back?
I don't know if I got to the running back, but now I'll have to find it here in my list of comments here.
You definitely.
Let's see here. If you're talking about this one, First
Yep.
off, I think this is speaking to how much money we might have left over. Kenny chiming in says, if you sign Jimmy G as a backup, Keith, myself, Sis, Dave, and Jody would be on the offensive line because we'd probably all play for about 40 grand a piece. I imagine, be able to make it work for the Broncos. Oh, Albert would be running back. Good
I
luck,
would,
buddy.
I want to make at least $30 an hour.
Wow. So, geez, I'll be honest. I'm kind of shocked. David is coming in here with a few comments on the question I asked. He says, I'm trading Sutton and a 2023 fourth round pick for Mr. Wilson there, Mr. Zach Wilson. I was just looking up. I had to look it up. So where are we at? We're at a base salary of $14 million this year for Sutton, $13 million next year, and $13.5 of the following year is where he's at. It does have obviously some signing bonuses and the like, but $1.2 million signing bonus each year.
I mean, I think
helps.
he's a prime candidate to restructure.
I mean, if you wanted to restructure and push him out, but at the same time, I just don't.
You don't need to push him out, but I think you can restructure him to make him where you said 14 on the cap. You can make that number a lot more favorable.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what you're going to see with him.
Just switch it over to a signing bonus and the like.
Him and Bowles, I think him, Bowles, and Darby are your three guys that are prime candidates to restructure.
So to me, I guess like you say, and Sutton has not been the same since the ACL. Dave, I think we're gonna have to go back and say that no one looked good last year. No one looked good. I don't think until you talk about those last couple of games and really, we saw Jerry Jeudy come on and he was the target. He was moved to the X. You know what I mean? And I agree. I think he needs to change a little bit, but there's certainly possibility in an offense that looks to be a little bit more explosive, even from what we saw.
One thing I think
Daniel Hackett put on the field. So
that I think you'll see with Sutton is a playbook out of Larry Fitzgerald. I mean, he started outside, and as he got older and a little slower, they moved him inside as a big body slot receiver, and I could see that. That's somebody. I mean, Russ being a little shorter. I mean, he can see that big body across the middle of the field, where Sutton's not going up and getting 50-50 balls, like Dave said, with the knee. I think that's a prime position for him next year. Is he a true slot all the time? No, but I think that role would fit him great, like Larry Fitzgerald in his latter parts of his career.
Yeah. It is interesting. I always felt, especially with both Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton, that they were capable of playing a very similar role. If it wasn't for Patrick coming off an injury and trying to come back, we just talked about, as Dave mentioned, how Sutton has not seemed to come back to his top level, and certainly since the injury, we don't know about Tim Patrick. I would like to add a guy in free agency, and maybe I'll hit this and then hit one other comment or question that we were talking about just a little bit earlier. A name that I would like to see as far as I'll hit this one first because it's coming to my head. Jacoby Brissett is the backup quarterback that I'd like us to see bring in. I think he did fantastic with the Browns. I don't think he's going to demand a high dollar amount like a Jimmy G. I think he's probably going to demand more than maybe a Taylor Heineke. But I think that's a name that would work really well, work in the system really well. And, give the Broncos maybe even at least a short-term opportunity to be, a stepping stone if we have to move from Russell Wilson for some odd reason. I'm not expecting it, but he's not too old, not too young. I think he's a guy that could literally take over that position and fill it very well. I don't know if you guys have an opinion on Jacoby Brissett. So,
I have a guy in mind though that, he played probably his best ball under Sean Payton in New Orleans. Teddy Bridgewater.
Oh,
He might
you're
price
bringing
himself
back the two
out.
gloves?
He might price himself out, but
Yeah.
somebody that played his, what was he, 5-0, was putting up
Yeah.
big numbers under Peyton.
Wow.
I think that's somebody to consider.
Wow, man, it's just amazing to think of the names that we've been talking about since Sean Payton's been around. We've been talking about Vic Fangio, Vance Joseph. Now we're talking about Teddy Bridgewater. It's insane. If it came back and it would, if it worked, Dave is not going to be. Oh my God, Jody, stop, Jody, laugh out loud.
I'll take Teddy Bridgewater all day over Zach Wilson.
The name that I was going to throw up there for wide receiver, and this might be a pipe dream a little bit, but at the same time, as David Slade was saying, we might want to get rid of a guy that we're paying about $13 million a year. Jacoby Myers from the New England Patriots is a free agent, looking to get his contract taken care of. And I think that would be a guy that would be really interesting to bring in. He's not going to command top dollar because he hasn't had multiple years of fantastic performance, but last year he did pretty dang good, and he's been one of those guys that has been consistent. And I feel like he would be a fantastic match with Tim Patrick, especially if you let Cortland Sutton go. So that would be my name for Dave, who said we can bring in another wide receiver free agent if we happen to move on from Cortland Sutton, because it's certainly being talked about. I think it'd be a way to get draft picks back more than anything, and if we need to get draft picks and pair them up so that we can move up higher in the draft to get a guy that we're looking at or looking for, that would be a situation for me. So, one last thing, he's saying, "Wow, Zach Wilson is a future that can learn under Russ and step in 3 to 4 years down the road if Russ works out." Dave, man, I never knew that you were such a Zach Wilson fan, man. You're really kind of blowing me out of the water on this, man. I just, he struggled last year. He struggled in almost all capacities. He had trouble reading the defense. He didn't seem like he felt comfortable with the offense. When he was put into pressure situations where, his job was on the line, I don't feel like he performed all that well. He didn't seem like he earned the respect of his team, as the offensive linemen were all wearing, white jerseys or white T-shirts for quarterback. That as soon as he was named the starting QB. I don't know what to read. I know that New York is tough, but he's saying so did Russ. Yeah, but in a system that I think that you saw Mike White do fairly well in almost immediately. I don't know. I don't get the right feeling from Zach Wilson. And honestly, I thought he might have something. I was a kind of a Zach Wilson fan if you rewind in our tape as well. So he did not impress me last year. Maybe we're all full of hot water. Zach Wilson ends up being the creme de la creme as a backup and steps right into Russell Wilson's shoes. Fulfills all your dreams, Dave, that I never knew you had for Zach Wilson. But
if it works out if you did get him and it worked out, you'd get him on really the cheap, and you'd probably be able to sign him on a cheap deal after his rookie deal's up. And
backing up Russell Wilson, yeah, you could end up signing him on his next contract on a fairly cheap contract because he would just be a backup at that point. So yeah,
if it did pan out with him, you'd be hitting gold, really.
Well, I'm glad that I'm not. Dave was making me think I was crazy, or maybe thought that we were crazy. But Kenny's also coming in and said, "Guys, Zach Wilson is not good in my opinion." Great points, Keith. So appreciate a little bit of support there, Kenny. I very much so.
And if we trade Cortland Sutton, then I would trade him for an offensive line player. Because if we cannot shore up that offensive lineman, no matter who is quarterback, we will have another 50 to 60 sacks.
You guys were
that's
talking
fair,
about
man.
getting a wide receiver. There's one that's all kind of been intriguing me for a while. I
Is
don't
it,
know what.
really quick? Is it Kenny's?
No,
Sterling Shepard could be chief, released by my Giants last week. No, I don't think we're into Sterling Shepard. Go ahead, Jody.
uh, I don't know what he did in New York to get on not play, but Kenny Galladay. I mean, he was a really good
Ah,
receiver in Detroit, and for whatever reason in New York, he just stopped seeing the field. I don't know what happened there. I think that's somebody that you could revive in a new
hmm.
offense
Yeah.
with
What
Sean
was
Payton,
amazing
a
to see
big
that
body
fall
wide
off.
receiver like that.
Was amazing to see that fall off, right? You know, he was looked like he was trending towards something really special in Detroit. Comes to New York and just like seems like he's always in the dumpster or in the cellar or whatever you want to call it. I just lost my lights again, guys. Hey, light that mood lighting. We're gonna go with some mood lighting. Um, maybe we'll move to just a slightly different topic because we do need to move on. And I actually, you know what? This is perfect. We're gonna do it like this. It's now time for our sponsor. This is Willow Seasonings and Blends, and kind of like when you're hot dogs around the barbecue and you got that glow on your face, or maybe you just peek up that barbecue lid in the dead of night and you got that those briquettes just getting you all taken care of. Hey, don't burn off any beard hairs as you are sprinkling on your Willow Seasonings and Blends, man. Willow Seasonings is a Colorado-based company. They're veteran-owned company. They're a Blue Ribbon award-winning company for their seasonings and blends, and they're shipping all over the country, guys. WillowSeasonings.com. You can check out all their different spices, all their different flavors of sauces. Always coming up with something new, and probably it's going to be award-winning. So check out WillowSeasonings.com. They'll be fantastic around your barbecue as you're sitting around those final few coals, and just trying to get the light. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pass it over. Maybe Jody, if you don't mind, just taking over the screen for a second. Start talking about the franchise tag. I know that there's one name that all Broncos country is thinking that might have a possibility of getting it, but do we want to pay the price? And then we'll start talking about maybe some other possibilities or maybe no possibilities at all as I come back. Okay, buddy?
That one player is Draymond Jones. I think he is a decent lineman. Great pass rush skills for a D lineman, but the tag's going to cost you almost $20 million for him. I don't think that he's worth that. And that really messes up your cap with the limited amount you have. If it were me, I would probably use the transition tag on him. Is where I would probably start. That way, it's a little bit cheaper, and you can recoup some picks if you don't sign him. But from reports I heard today, it sounds like they are in talks, and talks are going well. I mean, they're close on numbers, so I mean that's a good sign. Unlike Baltimore with Lamar Jackson, I mean, $100 million off. So I mean, it's a good sign. He probably would be my only candidate on this team to tag.
And catch me up to speed here real quick, buddy.
Draymond Jones.
Draymond Jones, man. Interesting. It's obviously pretty expensive. I got the franchise tag. I don't know if you went over it, but defensive end, 19.73 million
Yeah,
is the
I've seen it
franchise
was
tag.
almost 20 million.
So, Albert, your thoughts? Does Draymond Jones get the tag this year? And if he does get the tag, does he remain on it?
I don't think he will get a tag. It would be too expensive. He is a great edge rusher, pass rusher, but has he earned has he performed that well to get 20 millions a year? Not yet. Maybe in a year, if he can get 10, 11 sacks under his belt in a year, then I would risk it. But
Okay,
with how many did he have? 6, 7 sacks.
7
I
if I remember right. So,
Yeah, so that's not enough for me to give him a franchise tag for 90 million.
All right. Is there anybody else on the Denver Broncos roster as free agents come up that you would be considering? And if you want, I can run down a name of who. I'll run down a list of names that I
Hmm.
had as possibilities. All right,
Okay,
that
go
I
ahead.
saw as true possibilities. We have Kareem Jackson, Mike Boone,
No,
Cam
no,
Fleming, Dalton Reisner, Latavius Murray, Alex Singleton.
Singleton, I would give another contract. Yes.
So, well, not contract. I'm talking franchise tag. If we didn't
Oh,
tag,
oh,
now keep in mind, and this is a number that I was surprised at. That would mean that Alex Singleton would make 20.93 million next year as a linebacker for the Denver Broncos. Are you in for 20.93 on for Alex Singleton next year?
no.
no.
I don't think so either.
Not when I've seen reports of signing him for 2 years and 10 million.
There you go, buddy. Yeah, and I don't think anybody's like, well, I shouldn't say that. I think there would be a lot of interest in Alex Singleton, but I think we get him wrapped up for less than a franchise tag. I went a couple of the names that I just had on here. P.J. Locke and Essang Bassi would be the last couple of names that I had on here as any potentials. The cheapest franchise tag you're going to come in at running back at 10.1 million. So I wasn't sure when we start talking about like a Latavius Murray if that would even be a possibility. That's probably way overpaying what anything he'd be looking at. Kareem Jackson as a safety, if we wanted to bring him back on a 1-year franchise tag type of deal, safety's 14.4 million.
No, that's crazy.
No.
Yeah,
I mean, he's gonna probably get vet minimum next year. So
exactly. Cam Fleming or Dalton Reisner at 18.2 million makes no sense.
he's the only other guy that maybe if you get to the point that you don't think that you want to say you move on from Bowles, you trade him or something,
Yeah,
and what are you really gonna four new
faces.
offensive linemen?
Yeah,
I mean, he might be the only other one that I. It's still too high for me, but I could see it if you move on for Bowles, you're gonna have 4 new starting offensive linemen next year.
I don't think they move on from Bowles. There are not that many great left tackles there out there, and Bowles, we have him on a contract. Does he want to restructure? Probably not. But he is still a good to average of an average to good left tackle, and it would be a waste to let him go.
See, Bowles only makes sense to me to trade him if you can get decent draft picks, like multiple picks. But just to get rid of him, like a 5 or a 6, just to get rid of him, unless you're just definitely trying to save the 10 million and you're gonna re-sign him like Cam Fleming, who, I mean, let's be honest, did you see he doesn't hold as much as Bowles as he, unless you go that route or something. But
yeah. It's a big stretch, though, man. It's a big stretch. I think as we all kind of are speaking, there's so many holes on this offensive line.
So
I think it's going to.
here's my question for you: do you think that Reisner would be able to come back to maybe his first year game with a new system?
I'll answer it this way, Albert. I think there's a potential that we have to see if that is a possibility. I'm not sold on this whole idea with the draft picks that we have, with the cap space that we have, that we're going to be able to go out there and change our entire offensive line, plus get other positions of need. I mean, if Kareem Jackson doesn't come back, you'd love to be able to start building, some replacements in on the back end in some of these defensive positions. Does Draymond Jones come back? Does Deshaun Williams, is that a position that we need to look at replacing? I mean, there's so many places. Wide receiver we were talking about. We have, questions all over. Running back is someplace that people are saying we might even be drafting fairly high end. So there's so many spots. I think that we're going to need to rely on some of these old faces that everyone's saying, oh, we could have 4 new guys, 5 new guys. We could have 2 new guys as far as I'm concerned. I think we could literally get down to that. Lloyd Cushenberry is on a cheap contract. You got centers don't come easy unless if you're To go to the well and get a rookie makes almost no sense. If you go out there,
See, that's the one position I think that they're going to go and spend money in free agency to get a top center. I think you need somebody that can call out line protections and different things. And even like Lloyd Cushenberry, I mean, he was healthy at the end of the year. And I know new coaches, but George Payton could have said, play him.
Yeah.
He could have stepped in and said that, and they didn't play him. There was something there is falling out. And I think, and another thing, I like with Reisner, I don't think you're going to run this wide zone running scheme. Yes, you're going to run some stuff that fits Russ, the bootlegs and stuff, but I think you're going to be more of a power run team, and that definitely did not fit Reisner. Reisner, his rookie year was great in the wide zone, and I don't think that this offense fits. You need bigger guys. That's why I think Quinn Miners is going to have a great year. I mean, he's more built for this power run game.
Yeah, it may be, man, but I'm just to kind of get back to my point, and you were going to reiterate exactly what I was getting to. If you go out and you get that center and you spend a lot of money and you get that all-pro center that's going to make sure that you're all set, well, now, you can't go out and replace your left tackle, your left guard, your right tackle. I mean, probably not right guard, but you can't replace all these pieces and pay that all-pro center and take care of. I mean, I just think it's stretching too thin. So, yeah, go out there and fix your center, but that means, in my opinion, you might see a Reisner back. You might see, a Cam Fleming back, or, you know what I mean? Bowles there's no way you trade him, and things like that. Yeah, I think you see more of these pieces and parts stick around and hope that coaching can fix them. So, guys, I know that we're way up on time, or almost basically up on time, but I do want to hit just a couple other things real quick. I think it's important. We were talking about defensive coordinators a little bit earlier, but I just want to go through the list of possible candidates and coaches and get your thoughts on maybe, how likely, or, what the potential is, or where you like your fits. So I'll start with Albert real quick. These are the coordinators or candidates I have for you. I have Rex Ryan. I have Vance Joseph. Chris Richard, who, of course, was the defensive backs coach for the Saints. Mike Zimmer, currently on the CU Buffs coaching staff and former Vikings head coach. And last but not least, one that they say is still in the mix, and that's Christian Parker, who's the defensive backs coach for the Denver Broncos currently. So,
I have one other one. I think Sean Desai is still in the mix.
Sean Desai. Sean Desai, a name that is kind of fallen out, as it seemed like he had his interview such a long time ago. So, Albert, Sean Desai as well.
And I did hear today. Not sorry to interrupt.
Jeez, Jody, go ahead.
They are trying to get an interview with Matt Patricia.
Oh.
I don't know how I like that, but
yeah, I don't even know if I want to put that on my list. But anyway, yeah, it makes the list. Okay. Albert, your thoughts on those candidates, your feeling around maybe a few of them, and who you'd really like to see come in here and be that defensive coordinator.
See, from what I heard, Rex Ryan used to be a really good defensive coordinator.
Yes.
And he has now been out of the system for about 6-7 years. And that can be a plus and a negative, because you do not know what you can expect from him. It could either be very good or very bad.
Okay.
And so if Rex Ryan has a really good scheme and works to the strengths of the players, I would like to see that. Mike Zimmer, yeah, there's no doubt Mike Zimmer was one of the best.
Okay. Wow, man, you and Kenny must got all your notes all together. Kenny came in about the same time you were saying this and saying Ryan has been out of the league too long, in my opinion, and saying Mike Zimmer would be my top choice. So Kenny and Albert, lockstep, buddy. Got your supporters out there already. Going from Albert to Jody. if you want, I can go through that list. Rex Ryan, Vance Joseph, Chris Richard, Mike Zimmer, Christian Parker. We talked about Sean Desai, and I guess now Matt Patricia. So, your thoughts about all the candidates and who you'd like to see come in?
I definitely do not want Vance Joseph. I think he's part of the bad culture that was here. Yeah, he's might be a decent DC, but there's just some bad stuff there. There's some players that still play for him. Christian Parker, I think he's a young and up and comer,
Mm-hmm.
and from reports, it sounds like they want him to stay on staff.
Correct.
So I think he might be a little too. This might be a little too young for him. I think Mike Zimmer. I think he's in a cushy position there at CU. I think he's going to ride that wave for a year with Prime and see where that goes.
That's fair.
And a guy that I really was not on board with at first, but I've kind of warmed up to is Rex Ryan. I think if you go back and look at his stats, I think whatever they said, 9 of the 10 years he was a DC, he had a top 10 defense. The one year it was 11th. And defense is defense. If you're going to run a 4-3, you're going to run a 4-3. I mean, there's not a lot of all these different types of concepts. If you're in nickel, you're in nickel.
Yeah.
Really. So, and I think he's somebody, if you look at the rest of the staff, Mike Westhoff, he played under Rex or coached under Rex for a long time, his special teams. And it's somebody that when Peyton, those two guys, or Rex especially, if he needs to go sit Russ down and he's focused just right on the offense, or on the defense, excuse me, if he's got to take over for a minute or vice versa, Rex can be right there and he can trust Rex to, while he's focused on the one side, he's not having to, if he's going to be calling plays and different things, Rex has done it. So
fair enough.
Now, does Rex is probably going to cost a little bit more, and I think that's part of what there might be the holdup. I mean, he might want top DC money, and Denver saying, well, you haven't been in the league for 6-7 years. Are we going to pay you that? Prove it to us first. You've been out of the league.
It's fair. Yeah. It really, I'll hit this list real quick. I think we're going to be somewhat in agreement here as well, because Christian Parker is a guy that's up and coming, and I could definitely see him being stepped up as far as his role, coming off of DB coach and maybe being even like an assistant defensive coordinator, within the Denver Broncos. Mike Zimmer, as great as he was, I never felt like he was able to really relate to his players. If you look at his tenure in the Minnesota Vikings, it seemed like there was nothing clicked in between coaching and staff as far as player staff, and that's just something that's always bothered me. I always thought they had a great team, and I always felt that Zimmer was just held them back in a few too many ways. Vance Joseph, I'm going to agree lockstep with you. I just don't think that that's the right move. I think we can't bring a guy in that was part of a culture that was really at times even toxic, I guess is the best way to put it. It didn't promote any growth for the Denver Broncos, and to bring that face back in, I can't imagine would help anybody. So for me, it comes down to two, and it's Chris Richard and Rex Ryan. Chris Richard, again, being a Saints DB coach already, we already see that type of relationship, and that correlation to everything we're saying, getting back to Victor's comment of the Denver Saints Broncos. There's been a lot of staff that's been looked at from the Saints, and a lot of staff that's already been brought on. So I think that's a real possibility, but I'm going to be in agreement with you. I really like Rex Ryan. Maybe just a little bit older and watched a few more of those games, but I remember that Rex Ryan defense, and I remember how formidable they were, and I remember how explosive they were, and I remember how they changed games, and they kept the Jets in games. It was all about the defense. I mean, when you don't have an offense, I mean, your top 5 defense year in and year out, and you're in the playoffs as well, or contending for the playoffs. Um, it was it was really fun to watch and really interesting to see. And I agree. I don't think you would lose anything. I think there's no such thing as being out of the league too long when it comes
See,
to
and that's
defense.
what I've been hearing is, well, he's too aggressive. What if your offense is struggling like last year? He's too aggressive. He'll cost you because he's so aggressive. Well, look what he did in New York. I mean, he had Mark Sanchez, who, I
Yeah.
mean, that offense was not killer, and he was aggressive back then, and they went to back AFC championships. So,
Yep.
and I think now he's got Peyton who can say, let's turn it down and not, we're not blitzing every play. You can be aggressive, but we're going to pick and choose when we're not bringing, 6, 7 guys every play. And, I think that's where but the aggressive part, I think that's where that's what I like about him. But that was one thing I liked more than like a Vance or a Vic was Vic would let you run up and down the field and then hold them to a field goal, where Rex is going to try to not let you get into field goal range. It might cost you once in a while, but
Yep.
we're going to get sacks and interceptions because we're being aggressive.
Agreed. Albert?
Yeah. And here's my point. If you have a top 10 defense, even if it's number 10, and a top 15 offense, because with Peyton we should be able to be at least a top 15, you're in the playoffs.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
So to me, if you're aggressive with your defense, well, that makes it way more difficult for an offense to participate in a slow way, and so that people who are quarterbacks who will hold on to the ball too long, they will suffer.
Yeah, there's no such thing in a Rex Ryan defense, at least the ones from the past, that you can hold on to the ball too long. That's not an option. That's not how he builds his defenses. They're formidable up front. They get after the quarterback. They're like a lot of people said, get used to a lot of zero coverage. He's going to rely on and he's got Patrick Surtain out there that's been playing very well. It would be a big step up when we start talking about the other side and seeing who could step up on that side. But in a zero coverage, you don't have time to hold the ball, and you see.
But that's where Davari Mathis, he was a man-to-man type guy in college.
He sure
and
was.
That was one thing that and you could see it in the beginning too, where he struggled a little bit, was in this kind of zone type scheme that Evero ran. I mean, he was a man-to-man guy, and I think that's something that would fit him really well. And I think he's a real up-and-comer as a number 2 cornerback.
Very good. Gentlemen, I know we're a little bit past and overdue, so I'm going to get to final thoughts if you have any, and certainly if anybody in the comments has anything they want to talk about as we're kind of getting out of here, we can certainly do so. Albert, maybe we'll start with you, sir. What do you think? Final thoughts from you?
It's going to be a very, very exciting season, I hope, with Sean Payton. He will get the right staff as coaches. I have no doubt about it, and I think this year we will give the Chiefs some money, some place that they can run for, and
especially money,
especially Mahomes.
Love it, man. Love it. Looking forward to the season. We'll get this coaching staff put together, as Albert says, and be moving on to the next steps. Jody, some final thoughts from you?
I think probably by Friday, Saturday at the latest, we should know who our new DC and OC are. My prediction is probably Rex Ryan, and I'm probably leaning towards Anthony Lynn as OC.
Oh, nice.
You've got to get them in situated before the combine, which starts next week. And then I'm going to ride this train till it's proven wrong. I think Russ is going to have a bounce back year. I think he He came in overweight last year, thinking he could get into shape during OTAs. Well, we didn't have
didn't
really
have those.
OTAs. We didn't have those, and it just translated into the season. I think he'll come in phenomenal shape. And we got to get a. What if Russ doesn't play well? I just think that Russ is in for a bounce back year, and I'm really excited for that. I'm ready for him. I'm ready for all the Russ memes and the corny stuff that he does. I mean, there's plenty of other people that do corny stuff, and we don't hear none of it. So,
Right. Very, very true. Put all the critics to bed. I think we're well on
yeah,
our way to being able to do so. So, a couple things as I get out of here. First, I just want to give a shout out to Willow Seasonings and Blends. Kenny's jumping in the chat saying, "Hey Dave, what are your thoughts on roasting marshmallows with sweet smoke?" And Dave coming in saying that sounds interesting. So that would be Kenny's an experimenter, man. He comes up with some wild stuff and some good stuff. So
the sweet heat.
that'd be interesting. I don't know if you like get your marshmallow just a little bit, stick it in the fire, get a little bit, and then like roll it in the seasoning, and then put it back in there and caramelize it on there.
Yeah.
Interesting thought, man. Along those lines, Dave, if you're still out there and listening, my wife is really, really interested in some buffalo wing sauce, and thinks that would be another good one to add to your staple. So keep that in mind. I know we got the Sweet Thang barbecue sauce, but a true wild wing sauce. I almost said somebody else's sponsor or something like that. So keep that out there. So my final thoughts. First off, everybody, if you haven't checked out Rocky Mountain Sports Network, we didn't talk a whole lot about them. That's how you're probably getting the show right now. We're brought to you by the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. A lot of things going on over there. They'll keep you caught up on all your Colorado sports. And I don't even know if you guys knew this, but a new podcast out now with a new name, new face, Jacob Burke to the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Most people haven't heard of him. New podcast is the 5280 Nuggets Fast Break, and it's available on Apple Podcast as well. So check them out for all your news, all your notes. Of course, big into Colorado sports, whether it be your Broncos, your Rockies, your Avalanche, or your Nuggets. But they're covering a little bit of everything, all your late-breaking news, NFL, and the like. So Rocky Mountain Sports Network, check them out. They're on YouTube. They're on Facebook. They're obviously on Apple Podcast as well, and Instagram, all those great things. So my final thought, I just want to give a big shout out. Probably not watching, probably not listening. Doesn't always tune into my shows, but my dad recently got a pacemaker put in just a few days ago. Fairly major surgery, and I guess more minor now these days. But shout out to Dad. I'm glad he's doing well. He's feeling better. He's recovering. Cat's getting him up at 4:30 in the morning, and he's getting up there and letting the cat out. So already doing well, and glad that he's well on his way to recovery, and heart's doing well now. So
It's
thank
good to
you,
hear.
Dad. Yeah, really good to hear. Never like to see your parents go out to go into surgery and having to have major procedures, but Dad's doing well. And I'm glad to hear that, and glad to see that, and good to see him just the other day, and hope to see you again soon, Dad. So, with that, like you guys said, we're gonna be switching gears hopefully here pretty soon. We're gonna get you all wrapped up on some coordinators hopefully as on the next show. Of course, Denver Bronco Roundup on every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Usually an hour to maybe an hour and a half. If you're really catching us on a long-winded night, maybe 2 hours. But every Tuesday, 6:30, right over here on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Again, brought to you by Willow Seasonings and Blends. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Again, good to see you back. Albert, appreciate you being here.
Yes, welcome back.
Really miss you being gone. Jody, thanks for being here every single week and getting us all set up with a new crew last week so we could have a bigger discussion and kind of try to fill in for Albert. Appreciate you being here every week. And everybody that's out there, whether it be Sis or Victor or Kenny or boy, we had just a ton of people that came through our chats this tonight. So I appreciate every single one of you jumping in here, being a big supporter of us. We couldn't do it without you guys. We wouldn't be here without you guys jumping in here, being part of the show, supporting us every single week, bringing in with all your comments and questions. You wouldn't believe how many of you guys have inspired thoughts and ideas that have been brought to the show. We thank you guys for being here every single week for us, and we'll be here next week as well. So until next week, maybe we should get out of here, guys. Appreciate you guys very much. We're going to get out next week. We'll see you again. Thank you so much, guys.